Good afternoon and welcome to Grande Riviere. And by extension, the Grande Riviere Chocolate Company and the Grande Riviere Estate Yard. The Estate Yard is where we stand in here. This is Matthew. Matthew is one of the members, and on my right is Maria, another one of the members. We're all part of the Grande Riviere Chocolate Company. And saying this, let's give you a brief talk on the chocolate before you start tasting. Cocoa was brought into this country in the 1600s. The first cocoa to arrive here from Venezuela was known as Criollo. Criollo was considered the queen of cocoa. It's really high in flavor. Unfortunately, everybody hearing me clearly to the back there? Unfortunately, it was highly susceptible to disease. So things like black pod, witch broom, sort of devastated the original population we had. Then another cocoa was brought in more from Central America known as Forestario. Forestario was then planted out again, but fortunate for us, it cross-pollinated with the remaining pockets of Criollo and created a true Trini, known today as Trinitario. Trinitario took the best of both worlds from its parents. So it was high in flavor, it was a bit more resistant, and bears a lot. So Trinitario today is sought after globally. It's known for its fruity, earthy, floral, or nutty notes. So when you're tasting it, you know it's cocoa is talking, but sometimes you could get a little hint of something different. But it's nothing different, that's just in notes. It's so good that it put us in 1 out of 8 countries in the world that goes by that title, fine flavored or fine choice beans. These beans, again, really sought after. At one point in our history, the Cadbury chocolates used to be, everybody know Cadbury, right? Yeah. It used to be made exclusively from Trinidad beans. Then we lose that market. I think Grenada got it. Hurricane took care of that. And I think right now it's St. Lucia that has that market. But we are right up there with the best, or how do they say, the creme de la creme of the cocoa. All right? When we making chocolate, any imperfection in the feel reflects in the taste of your chocolate, especially the dark chocolate. When you could camouflage or hide any little imperfections with your milk and your sugar, dark chocolate don't have that, and it will stand out. How many of you know cashew, the fruit itself, not the seed, not the nut? Right. And you know when you have a nice ripe cashew, it's tasty, it's delicious. But have you ever bite into a half-ripe cashew? You know you don't want to do that again. Right? You feel that astringency tying up your tongue. Right. So if you didn't ferment your beans properly, and you make a chocolate and you bite into that chocolate, you could feel that astringency tying up your tongue like in the back of your tongue. So that is a key to making a successful chocolate bar. You must ferment and dry your beans properly. Otherwise, you're in problems. Right? We just ferment for about 6 or 7 days and then dry. I give 3 reasons why cocoa industry failed in Trinidad. And I'll give you the 3 reasons. These are my 3 reasons. And then I'll explain it in the same order. Education, oil and gas, unscrupulous businessmen. Education, because our foreparents worked extremely hard on the estate, whether it was theirs or they were working for somebody, it was almost slave-like work. Extremely hard work for very, very small money. And they were experiencing the hardship, and they didn't want their children, their offsprings, experiencing that same hardship. So they said, they see how hard I work in here for you to get education. Me, I want to see you here, you know. And if you don't want to listen, I have a tall boots and a bows waiting there for you. Everybody knows where's a bows, right? All right. So everybody knows where's a bows to the back? No, well, you see, a bows now is a cutlass that you bend Some people call it swiper to cut grass, right? Right. No, grass knife is something totally different. Grass knife shaped like a C with a short handle. This has a long handle and you'll cut it and bend it, almost like a L to cut, right? A swiper or a bose, right? To cut grass. So they're telling you about, and your tall boots. Everybody knows a tall boots, right? So they're telling you if you want to take in your education, they have that waiting to hit the cocoa estate, right? One of the things we must take into consideration, estate was just not hard work. It was a way of life. You had to manage an estate or your property as a business. So you have to plant, you alternate your crops. Cocoa is your main crop, but in between that you have to have alternating crops for you to survive yearly. Cocoa is a seasonal crop. So coming down to the end of the year, you're getting your cocoa and so on, going back into the beginning. But why is that going on? You have to eat, you have to drink. So you have citrus planted in between there. You have coconuts, bananas, plantain, breadfruit. I don't think it's ever a estate in Trinidad that do have a breadfruit tree, right? So that is a main source of food. You could get several tons of food from a breadfruit tree for the year. That is still how much breadfruit there's bear. There's bear plenty when it's bearing, right? And if you look in the vehicle to the back of you, Matt, you have some breadfruits there again. So you have to manage it. You have to manage it in such a way that if you need food, you know what time of the year, what is coming in, so you have food readily available. There's a yam that we call yamatuta that is, but most of the younger people nowadays know it as yellow yam, right? Yellow yam is not a seasonal yam as the white yam. This is a yam that 8 months after you plant it, you could harvest. So you find in the heart of the rainy season, you come out and you watch your yam vine, you realize it started yellow and started to drop leaves. And you say, but this is rainy season. That is because the yam, what we call ripe, it's ready for harvesting. You go and you dig your yam. So they always had something. If they need to do some repairs on their house, they watching a tree, which one of the cedar tree is going to mature. So sometime 2 years before the time in, but this cedar need 2 years again, and I will cut this and board it up to repair the house. So this is how they used to be planning. They had mahogany, they had cedar. And most important, they had immortal. Immortal plays a vital role in a cocoa estate. Yes, immortal provides some shade. It's a legume, so they also releases a lot of nitrogen in the soil. And it's a soft wood, so when they fall, it rotten very fast. So it putting back a lot of nutrients back in your soil. So everything was planned. You see them doing something. It wasn't a kind of Vike way they operated on an estate. Everything was planned. Their lifestyle was planned for that estate. You had this hunting season. Everything was planned out, right? And Grande Riviere was a fishing agriculture community. Gordon Grant, back in those days, in the 1800s, was one who had owned the majority of the best farming lands in Grande Riviere. This area that we're in was known as the estate yard. So all the produce around, whether it be nutmeg, feel free to ask questions, whether it be nutmeg, cocoa, coffee, citrus, everything used to be brought here to process. Tanker bean come here to process. Dirt that we seen there, cocoa house, right. Cocoa house was mounted on wheels which sits, the roof was mounted on wheels which sits on those rails. When the rain is not falling, you pull back the roof to get the sunlight to dry the beans. And when the rain is falling, you close the roof to dry so it wouldn't get wet. Literally, we had a saying in Trinidad, when you have cocoa in the sun, you had to expect rain. That was a literal thing. It also meant somebody did something to you that you wasn't expecting from that person. Somebody, boy, how that man do you that, boy, and all you good? Well, boy, me know I have cocoa in the sun, so me expecting rain. So you wasn't expecting something like that from that individual, right? So that is how Kaiser was born too. So same cocoa or sugarcane plantation, and everything we say have a double meaning. So we talking one thing, but depending on the tone or the slang we use, me and you know what it is we saying, but Master I know what it is going on down there. So that's okay. So because you're singing now, and you're chanting, but it's a message you're conveying onto your brother, but Master like he ain't the sweet tune. He ain't know what it is, what it is going on in the back there. So all that is part of what takes place on the plantation. I wouldn't bore you with the long because you came to enjoy the chocolates. All right, so you're enjoying the history. Right? So back then, the produce used to leave here and what we call steamers. It's alleged those steamers used to come up in the river. Steamers, you know those little steam-driven boats that they used to have? It's alleged that they used to come up in the river, collect produce on their way up to Tobago, collect produce on their way back to Port of Spain to sell. That's how products used to leave here. Right? That's how you used to make your money when you sell. And the second reason, wrong so not wrong, but I ain't finished with all the 3 reasons. I give all the education. When you finish with your education, now you leave school, you come out with your subjects. When you come out with your subjects, on one hand, you have estate, hard work, small money. Oil and gas, lighter work, big money. Now, you already have to leave your community here because you with your subjects, there is no employment here for you. So you're now going to build up the urban communities outside there. And the rural communities like us, back in those days, used to suffer with what we call a brain drain. Because most of our educated people, and I stress educated, because some people just feel it's a sort of stupidity they come into meet in the country, but they're sadly mistaken. Right? But most of our educated people had to leave in order to be employed. So when that happened, you're out there studying what to do, boy. Go home and face the estate or stay out here, work in the oil and make money, build my life. Is out there because mommy already tell me she working hard to send me to school to get education so I don't have to go through what she went through there, right? Then you have Mr. Unscrupulous. Mr. Unscrupulous is the middleman. The man who buying to export or back in those days to the cocoa board and all these things. You, as a small farmer, dry your beans, ferment and dry your beans, and you're going down to sell to the middleman. The pihan in your bag and he do what we call the knife test. He cut the bean to make sure you have a good ferment. He watch the bean, he watch it, and he said, me too like you know. You have a 4th grade there, he pay a 4th grade price. You and he ain't feel as bad about you as he. You get 3rd or 2nd. John come down the road, hey John, what you doing? Rest in the back there. He even check John, 1st grade. But when he is selling, there's no grade. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, everybody in one clump, one price. You understand me? So that is when the farmer realized what was happening to him, the only way for him to make money that he would have been seen is to have as much weight as possible. So out the window went Standard. Standard had to take a back seat because I need to mind my family. So I stopped selecting my beans. Normally when I would have thrown away black pod, I put in that in the when I would have thrown away the growing pods, I put in that inside because I'm trying to make, I ain't fermenting and drying as properly because I ain't getting the price for that. So as far as I could turn over this, the better for me. So we had a scenario in Trinidad at one point in our history where we had some of the highest quality beans, some of the poorest standard. So remember we had the Trinitario, which is a high quality bean, but because it was poorly prepared, when you go there, so we kind of lose, that kind of help kill off the market because we started to lose important markets. Everything started to fall apart, right? So that is what the 3 reasons I give that help kill the cocoa industry in Trinidad. Fortunately for us, post-COVID, CDC, which is the Cocoa Development Company, started to go around and retrain and retool the farmers. And I will always talk about them because we were fortunate to be part of those retraining and retooling in order to bring back that standard that we once had in Trinidad. And I will boast that we are up there again, ranking amongst the best in Trinidad. All right? So, give praise to the CDC. I mean, I could go through. Mr. Unscrupulous still have a hand to play because one of the things he did in the recent times is that because you now have a higher standard, naturally you demand a higher price. He stopped buying from the small man. Lock off the small man, he stopped buying from the small man. CDC again went around and got markets for the small man, buy the beans from the small man and exported it for them and had them getting a better price for the thing. You know, all of a sudden, the government can find money to fund CDC. All of a sudden, the middleman always have some politician he have in his pocket. All of a sudden, CDC had to cut staff because funding ain't available and there's all kind of choppiness going on. But they're still there, they're still struggling. And the ones that are there still fighting and trying their best. You can pick up a phone and call once you get to know them. Call, hey, I'm having so and so problem. Can you help me? And they try their best. At least the people that we have dealt with so far. So I'm very proud of them. They're doing a good job so far. And another thing that is bringing up the standard, because of artisan chocolate makers like ourselves, that naturally demands a higher quality beans in order to make our chocolate. And we naturally pay the farmers a little better than the normal price because we are making chocolate. So, and we demand a higher standard because we don't want no black pod, we don't want no growing pod. We demanding a higher standard, so we paying you a better price. And all these are things that are bringing the cocoa industry in Trinidad back to that level that we once had. This being said, I will call on Maria and David and them to come and start to pass around chocolate for you all to taste. The chocolate that we make is a 60% dark chocolate. When you're eating it, it will taste like it have milk. It have absolutely no milk in our chocolate and no artificial preservatives. So when you eat it, if you purchase a bar and you keep it on your person, your body heat will melt it. All right? So this being said, you all have a blessed day. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.